Hi Chris, how are you?
Good evening, Rod. Yeah, I'm well. Here we are. It's episode 200. It's the 24th of November, and it's damp.
Yeah, I mean, it also says a lot that you introduced us by saying good evening when it's really good afternoon, and that's how dark it's getting.
Yeah, it does feel like the evening though, doesn't it? It is. The light is going. Shall I just see if the chickens have gone in their coop?
Well, this is good podcasting, but yeah, absolutely. We always want an update on the animals. So, the chickens are good, not being able to get into their coop is good, and the result is?
The chickens haven't gone to sleep yet, so it's still afternoon. As soon as they go in, it's getting dark.
Okay, I see. This is the new thing on the podcast. The chickens are barometer for whether the day is officially over or begun.
Yeah, that's it. And in the summer, they live at large, and they're out till whenever the sun goes down.
There you go. I think this must become our 200th episode. Must become the chicken episode.
Well, why not? We haven't got a lot to talk about, have we? Because there's not a lot of news. And I was saying to you, I think this is the theme of the year. There hasn't been anything major this year in the tech bubble that's excited us. I bought a Switch 2. It's all right. I quite like it. But it wasn't a massive improvement upon the Switch 1. I've got a new MacBook Air, which is all right, but it wasn't wildly different than the previous one. I've got a new iPhone. It's all right. But do you see what I mean? I think it's just the theme of the year. We've got a new version of macOS. It's not all right. They've broken lots, and we've kind of regressed a little bit, and they're trying to make it back. But I do think it's the overall theme of 25 for tech, in that it's all been very iterative generally, and there's not been anything that's come out and gone game changer.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. Everything you've said there, I'd agree with. The Switch is definitely an evolution, not a revolution. macOS is a regression. I think the new laptops are fine. I think the new M5 chips are meant to be quite good. They're sort of quite a decent performance improvement on what we've seen with the M4. And that's quite interesting, but not enough to get super excited about, particularly when the software you're running on them is distinctly subpar these days.
Yeah, agreed with you. And look, real-time follow-up, my computer just switched to dark mode, so the sun must have officially gone down at 4:21.
Mine will do it in a minute then. Should we dive along and do some follow-up?
Let's do it.
So first up, and you can tell we're struggling for stories in the two news and follow-up sections this week, is we're going to talk about Thunderbird 145. So this was in my app of the week, possibly about 6 or 7 months ago when I was doing all my big Linux explorations. Thunderbird is the email client of Firefox, effectively. It's part of the Mozilla Foundation. Not that they're doing many good things at the moment. But for a long time, it's been sort of held back by the fact it doesn't have Exchange support. Well, now it does for some versions of Exchange. So rather than have to install a plugin or find other bits and pieces, if you're running on-prem Exchange, which is going to be deprecated in a couple of years anyway, if you read this Verge article, Register article, then I think it's ES version 4.0 up to ES 5.0, you're going to be able to run Thunderbird as your Exchange client. Yay.
Wow. I'm amazed that Thunderbird, is this news? I just assumed Thunderbird would support Exchange out of the box. The iPhone's done it since somewhere version 1 point something or other, or version 2. It was quite early doors. So I'm amazed that this is news and that this wasn't already there.
Well, if you think about it, Microsoft and Apple have a relationship. Apple will probably pay them some pounds or dollars in order to make that happen. So. Whereas your little open source company, less so. Evolution, the other open source mail client, calendar client, has supported Exchange and Office 365 integration for quite a while now, but Thunderbird not so much. And if memory serves, I think the Mozilla Foundation actually sort of spun it off, and it's entirely volunteers that run Thunderbird now. So the fact that they've got this up and running at all, even though it's end of support, I think is pretty good.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. It's good they're doing it, but I'm just surprised it wasn't already there.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Mozilla. Something else that's pretty good as well, as we talked with our excitement last year about Windows on ARM, the fact that maybe this was now Microsoft were going to be able to have some computers that were comparable to what we had on the Mac side in terms of quality of the batteries, in terms of how performant they were at low power and not getting very hot. It seemed to be a bit of a damp squib, really, the Copilot Plus initial Snapdragon ones. I was quite excited about them. I think you were too.
Yeah, I was a little bit, and we even discussed where I worked. Shall we get some in and try them out? And we hadn't, and I've never seen one in the wild. So it feels like they've largely been a bit uneventful, but I'm hoping it's a longer play.
Yeah, and this seems to add to that. Microsoft have made some decent changes to make gaming better. This is obviously a major thing if you're on the Windows side of the fence, is that you want to be able to download and install A, any program, but B, any game. And Microsoft are coming out to do something about that. So they're releasing a Snapdragon control panel, which automatically detects games if you've installed them on a Snapdragon X Elite laptop, and then carries out some optimization, so it does some steps around that as well. I think this is probably good in the long run for us on the Mac side of the fence as well, that presumably if some reverse engineering can go on either with Proton or on Mac, bringing things to other ARM chips is probably more possible if Qualcomm are sort of optimizing for ARM. So this would be good.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's just been a much slower project, slower happening, just slow. The whole thing's just been ridiculously slow. Microsoft aren't good at doing processor transitions, are they?
No, they're not. And this is just, they've got their Prism emulator, which is sort of equivalent to what the, oh gosh, my mind's just gone blank. Rosetta 2 on the Mac side, and it now supports x86 advanced vector extensions. So there you go. If that's what was stopping your game running, then there you go. I mean, it is quite interesting at a time where Valve are really pushing ahead with all the Steam products, as we talked about last week. Suddenly, Microsoft are starting to pay a bit more attention to gaming on these new generation chips and things like that. So I wonder if those things are related.
Hopefully, and they need a bit of competition, right? So hopefully this is a good thing. Microsoft is seeing some competition. It's got to be a positive.
Yeah, and for your son at least, Fortnite will now run on Windows ARM. So should you choose to get a Windows ARM laptop at some point in the future, his gaming needs will be sorted.
Interestingly, youngest, he's got a gaming PC. Just I say gaming PC, very loose term, very old PC, but plays the games he likes. Barely uses it. Still on the PlayStation. I don't know.
Interesting
why.
That
Prizing the controller out of his hands is hard.
I think it's just one of those things, is that if you've been used to using a PlayStation rather than Windows, and let's face it, Windows gaming isn't always straightforward. You got to have the drivers, you got to have the right GPU, you got to have the right settings, you got to have the right subscription to whatever, unless you're a Steam gamer. It's complicated, and as briefly talked about last week, one of the things holding back non-Windows platforms is the anti-cheat stuff. So if you play a lot of big first-person shooters, your CODs or your Battlefields, or I think even Fortnite and things like that they have quite low-level, often kernel-based anti-cheat, and that's what stops a lot of the Proton first-person things working. But also, it might just make people change. If you buy a PlayStation, it'll just work. You don't need to mess about installing the anti-cheat. Hopefully, there's less cheaters on there, although the second you do cross-platform play, less so. But I think it's all interesting, all this kind of stuff, that the way the state-of-the-art is moving on in Windows gaming, Snapdragon, blah, blah.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. And the convenience of just picking up the controller, pushing a button, and you're off. And all his mates are on there. So, yeah, he's very happy in that world.
And again, if Steam can do this with some interesting devices for not lots of money, I'm in. I think I'm quite happy to give that a go.
No, I agree with you. I think, I don't know, hopefully next 18 months, gaming on ARM is going to become way more of a thing than what it was.
And maybe we will have some interesting tech stuff to talk about next year.
There's got to be something, haven't they? What are all these companies doing?
Well, here's something interesting for you. Apparently, the new Apple N1 chips, not in your phone, I think, but certainly in the standard iPhone and the iPhone Air, improves on the older Broadcom chips in every way. So it's a bit faster, it's a bit more energy efficient, it's better at making connections and holding on to them. This seems like good news for Apple's own silicon.
Yeah, it is good news. I do have the M1 chip in my phone. I don't have the cellular chip in my phone. Right. So I've got the Apple iPhone 17 Pro. So we all got the M1. It does seem like they've done a really good job. They've released their own networking chip into thousands and millions of devices, and it seems to largely work straight out their bat. The only thing I'd say is connecting to a third-party CarPlay just does not seem to be working very well wirelessly, and I know I'm not the only person to experience this.
I think this is Bluetooth related, so that may be part of the chip, because I think Bluetooth is part of the N1 stack, right?
Yeah, it is. So that's the only thing I'd say. But also part of why I run some of the betas was to see if it improved it. It made no odds. It just hasn't improved. I've gone back to using it wired in one of my cars.
That's quite a regression as well, isn't it? If you like the convenience of just having it in your pocket. And
I love just hopping in the car and it connects and off you go.
And I will say, now I've got a car where this wireless side of it works reliably, and I blame Volvo entirely for this, not anyone else, that it does work quite well. The phone doesn't heat up in my pocket. It seems to work really well, the sort of wireless CarPlay. So I understand why this would be a massive inconvenience.
Yeah, it's just a bit of it. That's the only regression I've seen. The rest of it, it's all fantastic.
I think this is interesting, though, because this isn't Apple reporting. This is Ookla, the speed test people, and they're saying higher download and upload speeds on Wi-Fi compared to the iPhone 16 across every studied percentile in every region. Median download speed for the iPhone 17 series was 329 megabits per second compared to 236. I mean, that's a decent percentage increase just in a chip provider. So if they can do similar with the cellular on the iPhone 16 and maybe in the Pros next year, this is good.
No, it's really good. And fair play to Apple. They've gone away, engineered something, and straight out of the gate, it's working really well.
And this continues our theme of Apple's hardware is absolutely smashing it out of the park, whereas their software is sadly lagging behind.
Yeah, they've had a very strong, I'd say iterative year, but they've had a very strong year, haven't they? No real major missteps in the Apple hardware front.
Oh, well, missteps are always part of the company, and this is them trying to right one, at least in one region as well. Apple has confirmed that side button support will be available for third-party voice assistants other than Siri. In, drum roll please, just Japan. So if you wanted this in the EU, you want to press it down and get a voice assistant, you can't. If you want it in the UK or the US, you can't. But if you're in Japan, you'll be able to trigger whatever the Japanese voice assistant of choice, Gemini or whatever, is.
They need to just stop it, stop regionalising everything. I don't know how, this is all they seem to do. I don't get it.
I would love, there's been a lot of talk, and ETP went into it in a lot of detail this week on their show as well about Tim Cook's, the rumours that Tim Cook may actually step aside and become chief chairman of the board rather than CEO. And wouldn't it be a nice thing for day one, the new CEO to come in and go, right, we can't be bothered messing around with all this. We're just going to change it everywhere. Voice assistant, side loading, DMA approvals, whatever it is, Brazil, just get on and do it.
Yeah, just get on and do it. We're going to flatten all our stupid rules and hierarchies and just have one policy across the globe. Let's go.
Yeah, it's not going to happen because, again, the company makes more money than any other company pretty much, and you don't, on day one as a CEO, throw the eggs out the egg cart or whatever the allegory is.
Throw the bathwater out with the baby.
Yeah, apples out of the apple cart. I think there's a cart-related analogy too. I don't know. Anyway, that's what we'll go for follow-up unless I miss something.
No, I think that's it. It's just another nothing week.
It is. News?
Let's do it.
Have you got a burning desire to look through Jeffrey Epstein's emails?
Definitely not.
I think it's interesting. It's been an interesting story that, it all came down to Trump at the end of the day. Were they going to release it? Weren't they? He said he would, then they decided they wouldn't. Then he wanted it pushed through Congress, and members of the Republican Party have actually left because of the Epstein emails. And if you remember way back, Hillary Clinton, one of the reasons she allegedly didn't get voted in was because of her emails. So I think that somebody else becoming very closely tied to a convicted pedophile, and I said that very in an American way, didn't I? A convicted pedophile and their emails and the various famous clients that are in part of this list are definitely part of it. Some clever person has taken the released emails from Congress and presented a thing called Jmail. This is Jeffrey Epstein's email list, presented in a way like Gmail that you can search. You can find out who's in there. You can just, if you want to find out Prince Andrew or somebody like that, you can just type straight into it and you're able to find out absolutely everything that's in Jeffrey Epstein's email. This was within about 2 days of it coming out.
Maybe don't click on anything.
I'm not going to click on anything, but I'm just I'm pointing out that this is just an incredible technical achievement by somebody to very quickly throw this up.
So I completely agree with you. What an achievement. And if you were one of the people that's in this email treasure trove, you must be pretty mortified that these private things are now so readily available and it's so easy for anybody just to go and have a look at it. It's shocking, isn't it?
I mean, it would catch you by surprise as you look at the first page, and most of it's just the usual spam most people get, so you just think this was it. But then you look at some of the names in here. Larry Summers, Steve Bannon, Ghislaine Maxwell, Noam Chomsky. I don't know why he's in there, but I hadn't heard anything. But, clearly, and I did a little search for Prince Andrew there, and it's all in here as far as I can see, but not that I know what had been redacted from it, but interesting.
Wow. I mean, I agreed with you. Amazing technical achievement. Just, it's awful, isn't it? But people will still be sending emails and writing things down that they should never send or do, and they're still surprised when it comes out like this.
Yeah, it's a dreadful, horrible thing, and he was rightly convicted for it, and I think anybody else who was involved with that should equally be. I don't think that's a controversial thing to say. It's clearly the fallout for this is ongoing, and again, rightly so. But this is an amazing technical achievement. I think I'm going to move on to a less amazing technical achievement. The HP and Dell, the manufacturers, have decided to cut out high-quality codec support from some of their laptops. So there's a software update that will stop you having high-efficiency video decoding effectively. So some films are delivered in HEVC. This is a decoding check technology that's built into some of the chips. For some reason, on some of their cheaper laptops, Dell and HP have disabled the hardware acceleration for H.265 coding. This is a really weird step.
Why would you do that?
I don't know.
If it's there, why would you turn it off? That seems idiotic.
It's just like another way of ripping off a consumer. And again, we've had a recurring theme on this show where software isn't really yours anymore. You're kind of just borrowing it. Well, now it seems like hardware isn't really yours anymore either.
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah, I don't know if this is just a Windows thing, and if you install Linux or whatever on it, you might not get it. But this is a story that via Engadget from Ars Technica about after September, the royalty rates for HEVC codec went from 20 cents to 24 cents, and maybe just because it's costing them more money to install this is why Dell have decided to pull it out. But this is just rubbish. Use another codec if there's a royalty.
Yeah, agreed. This is just, it's crazy, isn't it? But it's all money, isn't it? Got to squeeze the margins.
Yeah, I suppose you do. Now, remind me, on Mac devices and iPhones, HEIC is the image format. Is HEVC the video format?
I take very little video, if any, so I don't know. I'm sorry.
I just wonder if Apple is paying this cost as well. This is not going to make...
I don't know how that works.
Yeah, settings, format, and then you can choose whether you want it in HEF or HEVC. So presumably Apple are paying 24 cents per device as well.
Right, okay. I guess they've got enough margin.
I don't understand this. Is it... I suppose when you only offer 256 gig hard drives on your devices for year after year after year, you want the most efficient video codec that you can. But there's plenty of good open source video codecs that you would think you wouldn't be paying any pence per download for your phone. So this kind of stuff blows my mind slightly.
Yeah, agreed.
Moving on, Android has done quite well in getting some quite important Apple features this last month, it would seem. So the first of these was reported in Ars Technica that due to the DMA, the EU has made Apple adopt a new Wi-Fi standard, and now apparently Android can support AirDrop. So if you've got a Google Pixel 10, there's been a software update to allow you that actually supports AirDrop on Google devices, so you can AirDrop to and fro to a Google Pixel 10, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Like, this is the world we want. Like, we've just said about Siri button being, able to use other voice assistants in Japan. Now AirDrop's working. There's clearly stuff happening, and Apple can do a lot of the stuff they said they couldn't do. But they're not doing it. But this is really good news. I was surprised when this came out.
Yeah, and more than that, it's just the future we all want to live in. It doesn't matter whether you have Android, a Linux, weird phone, Sailfish or something like that, or iOS. These basic features like sharing things quickly between them, Google called it Quick Share, these should just be supported. So this is what the EU exactly wanted to do with the DMA and laws like it, that it shouldn't matter what phone you've got. It shouldn't be tied back by particular features that are just for those devices.
Yeah, I completely agree. So amazing to see this, but...
Amazing to see this, and there's a little extra link in the show notes to The Verge about somebody who has been airdropping things back and forth. So inconsistent, The Verge, when you visit the website, that he's got a Google Pixel 10. He had a little bit of problems getting it set up in the first thing, but now it just works, and he can airdrop from his Google Pixel 10 to an iPhone and back again. I mean, if you've got a partner or friends or something who are on the other platform, this is a great thing for you.
No, that is cool. I think that's really good.
Yeah, we've all been in those situations where you're with a group of friends, you've taken a picture, you want to share it around, and there's the one Android person who's generally in the group with you who can't get it. Well, maybe now they can. Terrific.
Yeah, that's good. It shouldn't matter, should it? This tech should span the brands.
It should. And then another piece of tech that's come forward is that AirPods can now be used on Android and Linux. Somebody's released an app that will let you use adaptive transparency and the hearing aid modes on Linux machines and on Android phones. You've got to download it and install a thing. But again, this is just really cool. If you're an iPhone user who's just switched to Android and your AirPods are sitting around doing nothing, well, now they're good for you.
Yeah, that is cool. Whoever's done this bit of backwards engineer or reverse engineering, should I call it, sorry, fair play to them. Very talented. They've obviously got some skills there to make that work.
Yeah, it's called LibraPods. It unlocks conversational awareness, lower the volume when you're speaking and switching between noise control modes, and accurate battery level info. Again, Apple just want to sell a pair of headphones. They should have released the software themselves. They should always have worked across devices.
Yeah, agreed. It would certainly put them in a way better light.
Yeah, so I think this is really cool, and it's just it's a little advisory for anybody who doesn't know that if you wanted to be able to AirDrop on your Pixel, now you can, and if you want to be able to use your AirPods on an Android device, now you can as well. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Do you want a story that's going to make you feel deeply uncomfortable, Chris?
I saw the title for this. Why is this in our show notes?
Well, I just, you know me, I like the odd healthcare story, and I just thought this was fascinating. So for those that don't know, tuberculosis is a disease that we almost eradicated in the modern world through inoculation and vaccination. But then a certain amount of anti-vaccination came out there, and it started to become slightly rampant again. However, so you get antibiotic-resistant tuberculosis, and you get a various other nasty ways of getting it. And it's a really horrible disease. It killed lots of people. And back in the day, they used to call it consumption. It's really obvious in somebody's x-ray when you see tuberculosis. You get a thing called a gone focus, which you can see in people's lungs. It's really obvious. It tends to happen these days more in people in deprived areas and things like that who haven't had their vaccinations, because we thought we'd eradicated it. But there we go. And just a little warning for people who are anti-vaccination. Stuff like this can happen. The disease can come back worse than ever. However, this is just the most amazing story. You tend to think of tuberculosis as a disease of the respiratory system. Anyway, this was a case report of a 57-year-old man who pitched up in hospital in Dublin with a red, swollen, painful penis, basically. And what happened was he actually managed to get the tuberculosis infection on his penis rather than in his lungs. I mean, it was in his lungs as well. And sort of how they traced the story back, they're not sure exactly how it ended up on his penis, or any other part of his skin. And this is going to be the record for most penis words in a podcast, I think, that still has hopefully got a clean tag. But it's a really interesting sort of background to this, that he worked with animals as an abattoir and as a farmhand as much as anything else. And the suspicion was he wasn't washing his hands well between handling and dealing with the animals and then going to the toilet before or after, it would seem. And he'd also had a previous organ transplant. It may be that the tuberculosis virus was sitting dormant in his transplanted organ before it went on. Anyway, it's an interesting story because it's something I wasn't familiar with. I thought it was just a respiratory infection, not something you can get on the skin. But more than that, although the skin on his foreskin broke down a bit and had to be debrided, he didn't lose anything, Chris. They treated him. He's fine. It all came back. It's a happy ending. But I just think it's an amazing story for a 57-year-old man to present with a symptom like that. And how do you work back to the infection on this organ is actually tuberculosis? I just think it's a great bit of medicine in action, really.
I would agree with you there, and thank you for making me scream for the last 5 minutes, because none of that sounded very pleasant. But yeah, fair play, it's an impressive bit of science, isn't it? I was impressed with that.
There you go. So there was a happy ending to it, and I thought you'd like that. Not all my medical-related stories have got happy endings, but there you go.
Yeah, that is true. But I was a bit squeamish for a moment then.
I should really have put this in Car Corner, the next story, but I think it's quite interesting. Apparently, Ford, the car company, is putting some money into the Xen hypervisor. So Xen is an open source hypervisor. It is based on a company's product from years and years ago. I forget exactly which one. But it might have been Oracle or someone like that had a hypervisor. We've said before, hypervisors allow you to run virtual machines. A bare metal hypervisor is a very, very low sort of shim level right at the bottom. You can put on a computer and then run multiple operating systems on top. This is really important in servers, multi-core and large amounts of memory, where you can really improve the workflow of a server by running tens, if sometimes hundreds of machines on them. Where it's also interesting is, in Ford's case, for being able to run lots of machines on one car's computer. So you could think, you could have the bare metal thing, computer running the most important stuff on the car, so the real-time stuff for your speedometer, working out reversing sensors, all that kind of stuff. But you could then virtualize other parts of the car, for example, the infotainment system, which isn't quite as critical as your speedometer or your collision avoidance or something like that. But you could then do that across lots of things and have backups with the ability to spin it up. So I just think it's really interesting that you're seeing a car company invest heavily in a hypervisor. And I just wonder what you thought about that.
Yeah, I was surprised when I read it. I was like, really? Is this what Ford are investing in? But then part of me was like, I kind of see it. There's so much tech in your car these days. You've got all the entertainment, obviously all the car gubbins, and how many more screens are we putting into cars? So I can kind of see it. Interesting, I was reading about Ford just today about how they nearly went kaput not that long ago, just before the 2008 crash, and they bet big and managed to get themselves back on track. But I didn't realise how close Ford had come to having a near-death event. But no, super interesting to invest in tech. I think Ford have been a bit slow to some of this stuff, and we've obviously seen it with challenger brands coming in and challenging the established car makers. So they need to do this. They've been a bit slow to it, like I say, but now I've thought about it, I can see why they're doing it. But like I say, when you first read the article, why are Ford doing that? But they've got to do it. They've got to protect their future.
Yeah, they do, and they're not the only ones. Honda are also a Xen member, and having had a few new cars in the last few years and being an avid sort of watcher of car reviews and things like that, it's often the infotainment system is the biggest problem in a lot of cars. And my Volvo, which has serious problems with software, it must be said, completely locked up on me once on a trip up the road. I couldn't do anything with it. I couldn't turn the volume up and down. I couldn't change the radio. I couldn't adjust my car. The only part of the dashboard that was working was the speedometer and the percentage of the battery.
Wow, okay. I've never quite had that problem. The BMW, to be fair, that I had was bulletproof. The software was fantastic.
And I see similar stories from Volkswagen and other companies as well. So it's definitely a thing. And you could imagine updating car software is more and more complicated as well these days, where you have to do all this. And cars, particularly my Tesla experience and the Volvo, are basically computers where they get software updates, monthly, every couple of months something, you run an update, you can't touch it for 20 minutes, etc., etc. So hypervisors and the ability just to install a new virtual machine into this environment is probably a really good solution for them, where they can test it fairly thoroughly. It's always going into the same environment, you know what's happening with it. In the same way that, as software developers, we deploy Docker containers and virtual machines because it's a known environment. It's probably a good thing.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's a fair play to Ford. Well done.
Yep, and Honda before them. So this is good to see the big players like this invest in really quite good virtualization software. I used to run it myself, actually, Xen. It's very good. And I think that's all we've got for news, Chris.
Yeah, like I say, it's been a weird week. And we're kind of in that pre-Christmas piece now. Nobody's announcing anything. We're just on the run-up to Christmas, and it's all about, I guess, product fulfillment now.
It certainly is. Should we talk about some media?
Let's do it.
First up, Pluribus is apparently Apple TV's biggest drama series launch ever. This is amazing when you think of some of the media surrounded some of their other shows, Foundation, Ted Lasso, Severance. They've all had big things, but they're obviously beginning to reach sort of a critical mass what's there. And I think Vince Gilligan's name from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul probably had a fairly serious impact on this too. People want to see his new show. Have you watched it yet?
I have not. Sorry, I'm a bad person.
I'm disgusted. I have. I'm absolutely addicted to it. It's great. I can't wait for it to come out. I think it's Fridays it comes out. It's an absolutely terrific show, and I don't know where it's going. And it's really rare that a show leaves me completely baffled as to where it's going.
Yeah, I need to get on with it, don't I? I think I need to pay some attention to current. Like I say, normally I wait till these things are over, and it was 2 years down the road, and then I'll go back and watch it. But I will get to it at some point.
So there's 4 out now. Apparently it's most popular in US, UK, Canada, Brazil, Australia, Germany, Mexico, India, and France. So that's a reasonable spread of the world, speaking a variety of languages that people are really into it. So this is great news, I think.
100%. It is good. There is some great stuff on Apple TV. I nearly said plus. It's really good that they're getting a few more eyeballs. It's only going to get better, I think.
Yeah, so I've been watching it. I haven't put in the show notes, but I've also been watching Celebrity Race across the world as well, while I miss Taskmaster, because that's finished, and Great British Bake Off, and Celebrity Race across the world's been good too. It's
been all right. It's not the strongest group of individuals, but it's been all right.
The thing is, if you told me that they were just the normal contestants, I'd believe you, because I don't really know who they are all that much, except Anita Rani.
Agreed. I don't know a lot of them, to be honest with you. So, no, agreed. But no, I'm enjoying it. It's a good family show.
Yeah, it is. A good family show that is coming back, it would seem, is Stargate. Were you a Stargate fan?
Not as big as you. I'm fairly confident, but I have seen some of the Stargate stuff.
So I only heard about Stargate, the TV show, when you and I used to do our LAN parties back in the day. Your friend Neil and David Booth were both massive, name check if you listen, guys, we're massive Stargate fans and went on about it at length every time we get. So I thought I'd check it out and started watching it after that. So I wasn't a Stargate fan prior to that. Anyway, Stargate was a movie starring Kurt Russell a few years ago. In fact, I think we talked about it in media about 2 years ago. It was a movie. It was a TV show called Stargate SG-1, starring Richard Dean Anderson and others. It got a spin-off. Actually, it got two spin-offs. One was Stargate Atlantis, and then it got a second one, Stargate Universe, that starred Robert Carlyle and was amazing, but only lasted 2 seasons before they cancelled it. It's been gone for about 10 or 15 years by this point. There's been no new Stargate media at all. However, Amazon Prime and the original creators of the TV show have announced that it's coming back. Probably be an 8 to 10 episode series run, as most modern TV shows are. It's rare you get the 24, 26 episodes ones we used to get back in the day. But I'm super excited, and it's a continuation to the original property. It's not a reboot. So I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, fair enough. It's tentatively on my radar, but as I'm already behind on everything else, I can't imagine I'll be the first one to watch this.
No, particularly if you don't have any great history of watching it before. Did you watch the movie back in the day?
I have seen the movie.
You should maybe give it another go. And I'd recommend anybody who wants some sort of light, fluffy, quite well-written entertainment. Stargate's well worth a look, particularly the original SG-1 series.
Okay.
And moving on, you appear to have watched a film.
I have. For some reason, I went back and watched The Truman Show, which I'm sure you've seen at some point. I was listening to my Rewatchables podcast, and they had one on there about The Truman Show. I thought, I haven't seen that film in ages. Listened to the podcast. I was like, actually, I fancy watching it again. And do you know what? For an hour and 42-minute film, I thought it was really good. I'd forgotten how good Jim Carrey was in it. I quite like the whole concept of the show and Ed Harris. And I went back and watched it. And then I came and looked on Rotten Tomatoes, and it got a ballpark 90% rating from everybody, which feels pretty good for a 30-year-old film probably at this point.
Yeah, it's a really good film, actually. There's only a couple of and I think this is where we first all believed Jim Carrey could act as well as be funny. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, he absolutely did an amazing job acting that. But this is a really solid film, I think. It's a good concept, more relevant than ever in our continuously online world. I think that and The Running Man really had some things to say about where the world was going. And you absolutely know if a studio could buy a baby, they would.
Yeah, 100%, and turn it into TV. We've probably gone past that era now, but this could have definitely happened in the 2000s. Yeah,
totally good. I remember Laura Linney being in this as well. Went on to be an amazing actress, but this was the first thing I vaguely remember her seeing in it. And as I look at this, Natasha McElhone was in it as well. Who knew?
Yeah, no, it was good. I'd forgotten loads of it, but just generally enjoyed it. It was a good way to spend an hour and a half of my time.
And Peter Weir has done one of my favourite films of all time, so I'm always willing to give him a chance at his movies.
What's one of your favourite films of all time?
Master and Commander, The Far Side of the World.
Never seen it.
That's dead air, folks. That's genuinely dead air. You've never seen Master and Commander?
No.
Your homework, for maybe tonight, actually.
I did know it was Peter Weir, and I know Russell Crowe's in it, and I think Paul Bettany's in it.
Yeah. All these people are in it. You have to go and watch it. It's one of the best films of all time. It's based on a 21 episode series of novellas by Patrick O'Brian. They sort of join 3 of them together. This is another thing that people continually talk about, rebooting or becoming an Amazon Prime show. But it's probably the best thing Russell Crowe's ever done, and that's saying a lot. Yeah,
I actually quite like Russell Crowe. It's so Master Commander is 85% Rotten Tomatoes, and it's on iTunes, Apple TV Store for £5.99. So there you go. I could pick that up and watch it.
There you go, and I recommend you should. And of course, it's probably available on streaming somewhere, maybe on some streaming service, but this is an absolutely terrific film.
Yeah. I believe it's very good, but I just haven't got to it.
Okay, well, we'll talk about it next week when you've watched it, all right?
Okay.
Should we do some games?
I'm feeling pressured.
You should. I am. It's direct pressure. It's rare I apply that.
Yeah,
Should we do some game?
Yeah,
Should we do some games?
Let's do some games.
Okay. So I picked this one particularly for you, Chris. So you can now play Command & Conquer Red Alert 2 in your web browser.
Oh, okay.
Literally. You click the link. You don't need to do anything. If you've got the game files, you can go and install it. And I'm not going to sit and play a game. But you can see, even while we're podcasting, it's downloading a bunch of stuff here. And in the background, what it's doing is it's grabbing all the files that it's allowed to, sort of the open source versions or what's there for Red Alert 2, extracting them all, and there you go. I've got Command & Conquer Red Alert 2 running inside of my web browser. How amazing is that?
Yeah, that is cool. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. It's probably about 25 years old and the web's come a long way, but fair play.
It has, and I'm not going to, it will eventually start playing the music and you'll see the intro menus in a minute. So again, good radio podcast listeners, but the link is in the show notes, and it's just an amazing achievement. I know we've talked before about Chris's obsession with Command & Conquer. He's, went and bought the anniversary game, which has all 10 games in it or something like that. There's the open source version of this, OpenRA. I'm going to ignore this. There you go. You might not be able to hear it, but there you go. That is Command & Conquer Red Alert 2 running inside your web browser. It's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, that is cool. I like that.
So it's called Chrono Divide, and all I can hear in my headphones at the moment was all the noises and things, so I've stopped that. But I just thought you'd like that. This is where web technology has come to, that you can run a full game from 1980 or 1990, whatever it was.
Probably about 2000.
Really as late as that. It looks much older, it must be said.
Still 25 years ago.
Well, let's talk about a game that's even older. Do you ever play the Zork games?
No.
So the Zork games were legendary for being the first ones that could respond properly to keyboard input. One of the very first sort of text-based adventure games was a Lord of the Rings game, and you could type things like N to go north, pick up light to pick up and you could be a hobbit or whatever else within that. However, the Zork things, you could type an awful lot of text into it, and it would try and understand the semantics of what you were saying. It a really sensible, clever text input engine.
Are you saying this was a precursor to us having modern day AI?
No, I'm saying it was a precursor to very modern, flexible games with decent interfaces. I would not have called it AI because, of course, all the things were in there.
It's just when you said it was trying to interpret meaning in what you're typing that's the reason I went there.
It would, but it was human beings trying to do the best of that rather than the machine. Anyway, the Z Machine virtual machine it ran on helped make Zork easily available on multiple platforms. Microsoft have open sourced it, so if you ever want to go back and look at the code of how these things run, now you can. So the Zork 1, 2, and 3 are legendary, and you can go and download them and do what you like. But it could be interesting. They're all available on GitHub.
Okay, that's quite cool.
Yep, I thought you'd like that.
Hearing you say Z has just made me think of the game called Z. Do you remember that game? It was like Command & Conquer-esque game, I think. It was
one of your games of the week or apps of the week about 2 years ago, I think.
What, Z?
Yep.
Okay, there you go.
Yep.
I did not know that.
Yeah, there was some sort of reboot or remaster came with the iPhone, I think, and you talked about it then.
Okay, that sounds about right.
You played a game.
I played a game based upon your recommendation. So I went and downloaded Tetris 99 on my Nintendo Switch and gave it a go and thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. It's quite addictive, but also quite quick. I'm not like great at it. My best was getting to 8th, which I'll take as a massive win, but that happened like once, and I bombed out quite a lot of other times way before then. But what a great game. You take 99 people, you each play until the numbers whittle down to 1, I guess. I've not got that far, but a really cool game. I loved it.
Well, you're better at it than I am, because I think I'd managed 15 is the best I've ever done, so you're better at Tetris than me.
More luck than skill, I think, in that scenario.
Yeah, I have no skill whatsoever. I do find, my little review of this, is that the Nintendo controller is overly sensitive sometimes, and it drops blocks when you don't want it to.
I don't know if that's somebody attacking you or doing something.
No, it's when I press. I think I hit the up on the D-pad,
yep.
To get it to drop the block quickly, and I don't always mean to do that. So when I play with my third-party gamepad, my 8-bit Ultimate Do, it doesn't happen. But both the Nintendo Pro controller and the Dual Shocks or whatever they're called that flick onto the thing, both of them do it.
Joy-Con.
That's the fellas.
Yeah, I was trying to think for a minute then. Okay, I've only played it with the Joy-Cons. I was going to try it with a Pro controller.
I'd be interested to get your feedback. Anyway, it's a great game. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I thought you would.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's right up my street. It's nice and simple. I love it.
I think we've run out of games to talk about. Should we do a very brief main show and we'll let these fine people get on with their lives after the shortest podcast we've ever done?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so there's two things I wanted to talk about. The first of, and if I can pull the tab over, is that apparently Apple is not going to release a new Mac Pro anytime soon. And John Siracusa, I wouldn't say lost his mind about this, but went on a very long, rambling discussion about what this actually means. And this, he felt like, was confirmation that the Mac Pro is finished now. And obviously he's the biggest Mac Pro fan in the world. He has a Mac Pro Believe t-shirt and all this kind of stuff. I thought this was an interesting thing for us to discuss because you and I both had Mac Pros, of course.
We did. What did I have? An Intel Mac Pro in a big silver case. It looked like the Power PC case, but they then put the Intel chips in it. And this was the days when you could buy a Mac Pro for about £1,500, I'm going to hazard a guess, and you could expand them. It was cool because you could put 4 hard drives going in across. It was a beautiful case, beautiful piece of machinery. Probably one of the best computers I've ever owned. Very, very big, very heavy. But what a device, and it was accessible. Mac Pros for a long time have not been accessible to most people. And obviously I think the Mac Studios replaced it. I don't really understand why they had a Mac Studio and a Mac Pro anymore, because they could have just called the Mac Studio the Mac Pro. That would have been fine. I did think they might swap the chips out this year with the M5 coming out and M5 everything, which is what we thought they'd do with the M4, but they didn't. They did most things with the M4, but you didn't have the Studio Ultra chip with the M4, did you? And they didn't touch the Mac Pro. But they've just left the Mac Pro doing nothing. Obviously, nobody's buying it. It's so overpriced. Why would anybody buy it? So it is a shame.
It is a shame. I had 2 of these. I had a G5 Tower Mac Pro, and then I had the Intel Xeon one. They were both Xeons, not the fastest Xeon chip. So they were server spec processors that were in them when they went Intel. And I agree with you. The upgradability was amazing. It had a latch on the side. The door just hinged off it, and you could get into it and do everything you wanted. I upgraded the memory on mine. It was ECC RAM. It was ridiculously expensive, but it was a great machine. I played Windows games with it. I did Mac things with it. I edited videos with it. At work, still within the NHS, I used the Mac Pro for many years to do system administration of HPUX systems, because it had a better terminal than Windows had at the time, as much as anything else. I even managed to get, no, I won't go into that, one of my clinical systems running on it, so I was very pleased with myself about that. It was a great machine. Then we had the trash can Mac Pro, because they hadn't upgraded the Mac Pro in such a long time. This was Apple's, and it was Phil Schiller himself said, "Can't innovate my ass," or something like that, I think was the thing. However, the trash can Mac Pro was a thermal dead end. That they couldn't put bigger, hotter chips in it. It looked nice. It was meant to be fanless. I think it was fanless. It was just like a...
No, it did have a fan, because it had something to suck air in the bottom and out the top, or the other way around. It did do some form of active cooling. But yeah, Apple even said they pinned themselves into a thermal corner, and so they had this small trash can, in essence, that had 2 graphics cards in it that was just really too hot. I don't get why they'd engineered it so small. Nobody cares how small their desktop is, really. Make it a powerful machine. So it was massively disappointing, but stayed around for about 6 years.
Yeah, I've looked. It had one single weedy fan at the bottom to blow the hot air at the top of the tube that it was based in. And the point of the Mac Pro, and you touched on it in the intro, was this expandability. The idea was, if you bought a big honking box, you could stick graphics cards in it, sound cards in it, extend the hard drives, put more things in there. You had lots of overhead for doing lots and lots of things. And I mean, in some ways, the trash can was a precursor to the silicon on a chip Macs that we have now. There wasn't a lot of scope for upgradability in there. You could nominally upgrade the chips and things, but they never did. They never upgraded the chips in the Mac Pro. They never upgraded the graphics cards on the trash can Mac Pro. And then they did the Apology Mac Pro, which is the Mac Pro we have these days, which is, well, no, I tell a lie. We'd had the last Intel generation went into the redesigned case. I'm right in saying, like an i9 or something. The
last Intel went in the current case in 2019.
Yeah. And then when they switched to Apple Silicon, they put initially an M1, and then
no, I thought it was just M2 straight into.
Did it go straight to the M2?
Because it skipped the M1 generation.
Okay, and then there was an M2 Ultra you could get in the Mac Pro, which was exactly the same as you could get in the Mac Studio. So the only difference was you could put some expansion cards into the Mac Pro. It was exactly the same bit of silicon. It took up a tiny little bit of space up at the top of this massive box. Beautiful box, by the way. This is the one you could spend $1,000 and get wheels for. It's famously wheels for your Mac Pro. But no benefit to it whatsoever over the Studio version. Have we seen an M3 Ultra or an M4 Ultra? I'm not sure we have.
There is an M3 Ultra in the Mac Studio.
But not an M4.
You can either get an M4 Max or an M3 Ultra in the Mac Studio.
So it's certainly not the newest, hottest thing either. And the current Mac Pro is sitting there with an M2 Ultra.
Yeah, it's mad. And it took them so long to move it over to Apple Silicon. It was the last Mac, I think, to go over. So I don't know. It just seems to have taken them so long to do anything with it, and they've basically just phoned it in. It's so disappointing.
It is. So you can still buy one as of today, because this is a rumour. And should you want to go and buy a bog standard Mac Pro with an M2, as we've talked about, you can have it in server or Terra configurations, and I'm just going to configure a standard one. It's starting at $6,999 for the M2 Ultra 24-core CPU. That's a lot of money.
It's a huge amount of money. You get 64 gig of RAM and a 1 terabyte hard drive.
It's not really an awful lot, is it? I suspect you could get a MacBook Pro with a similar configuration for less. And certainly, just for being thorough here, the same studio will be. And again, this you can tell.
It's hard to do the same because you're going to have to pick the M3 Ultra, so a way better chip, like a new generational chip. But that's going to come in at $4,000.
It's still quite a bit cheaper though, and all you're giving up.
You could buy more or less two of those for the cost of one Mac Pro.
And it comes with more RAM. It's got 96 gigs of RAM.
Yep, and a way quicker chip.
So I think from looking at this, the signaling has been clear for a while. Apple don't want you to buy a Mac Pro; they want you to buy a Mac Studio.
It is a shame they've killed the Mac Pro, but the writing's been on the wall for a long time. And Apple are rubbish at this; they keep stuff around for too long after they've not loved it.
I think my biggest problem with them killing it off is that they are, once again, putting themselves in a corner with their GPUs. There are no GPU upgrades for Mac computers, and that is still a problem. The reason NVIDIA are leading in the world at the moment as one of the biggest companies is because every data center in the world wants an NVIDIA GPU. They want an NVIDIA graphics card. Gamers want NVIDIA GPUs. The GPUs in Macs are okay, but they're still about 4 or 5 generations old in comparison to what NVIDIA and even AMD are able to put in as standalone expansion cards. I understand it on a laptop from a thermal point of view. They've got good enough GPUs. But in these days of LLMs, the only reason Apple's got a look in is because there's enough memory with these high-end chips to have all that in one place. So they run an LLM okay, but not as well as an NVIDIA.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's weird that Apple have gone away from that entire configuration. What they're now apparently doing with the latest betas is you'll be able to Thunderbolt 2 Macs together, which I don't know how that's going to work, but you'll be able to take 2 Mac Studios like we're looking at here and run a Thunderbolt 5 cable between them and use that for doing your compute. I don't know how that's all going to work, but apparently that is a thing they are actively working on.
No, you can do it. It's not a thing you're working on. You could do that right now.
Oh, I thought it was coming out as the latest beta.
No, there's a YouTuber called Network Chuck who bought 5 top-end Mac Studios with the M3 Ultras in them, lots of RAM, and thunderbolted them together.
Wow.
And it's an amazing video just to see what you can do. The choke point on it was actually the Thunderbolt connection. The Macs were able to do it, and it's quite a long video. It's about 35 minutes. If you talk in the next section, I'll go off and find the YouTube link to it. But it's an amazing thing to do.
Yeah, but it seems to be the way Apple's going with it. I guess rather than you buy a big thumping case, just buy lots of little ones and daisy chain them together, and off you go to the races. But it is a shame the Mac Pro is going away, and I do agree that Apple should have a supercomputer that costs a load of money. But if you really want the biggest, most expandable thing, this is what you buy. It should be that Halo car or that Halo computer. So it is a shame it's going away.
It is a shame it's going away because for a long time, we all remember the advert where the Mac Pro was classed as a weapon, which you weren't allowed to sell it in Iraq and countries like that because of the compute available to it. And they're just not that company anymore.
No, they're not at all. And it's a shame. It's a bit like when they got rid of monitors. They realised it was a mistake, and they brought back the monitors, which was the best thing they did.
So just in the background here for Chris, I'm playing the chap that bought 5 Mac Studios and plugged them together to run the biggest possible LLMs. So you can do it now. You don't need for Apple to release anything. He went on and he did it. And like I say, it's quite a long video. It's 34 minutes. But what he does with it is really quite incredible, and he goes through all the performance about what's running on which core and everything. It's worth giving Network Chuck a look in to see what he does here, because I think the techie in you will appreciate this, Chris.
Yeah, fair play. He's clearly done something pretty clever of, chaining 5 computers together and making it work. So fair play to him.
Yeah, and he does it in a couple of ways. He tries it with the 10 gig network connections first, and then he moves to the Thunderbolt connections. So,
okay, that's quite cool.
Yeah, well worth a look. So that's story one. And then story two, I just thought it was worth us having a little drop in and see how Microsoft's doing with its agentic AI stuff. Because I think we haven't been particularly accepting of the path that they're taking in terms of recall and stuff like that, yeah?
It's fair. I don't think we've really spoken much about Windows 11 in the last few months because it's just kind of there now, isn't it? The Windows 10's dead. Everybody's moved to 11, possibly. And Microsoft haven't been doing much, so we haven't spoken a huge amount around it. But the last thing we did discuss was recall, which did not sound like a good idea.
Well, their latest thing is that you're going to be able to enable agentic AI within Windows 11. So this is a security setting that will allow you to add lots of new features within Windows 11. So you'll be able to call agents directly within the Windows computer. Great. The problem with that is it increases the security risk of your Windows computer. And there's all sorts of warnings, apparently, if you go and switch this on. Because you can tell your agentic AI to go and hack a bunch of computers or run a DDoS attack or look for particular vulnerabilities within this particular build of Windows. Or so can somebody else who can have access to that. So all these agents will be running in the background, and as a consequence, they're going to have access to everything that's on your computer to begin with. You're not entirely sure what they're going to be doing. You could be running 2 or 3 models at the same time, plus something in the cloud, plus all the stuff Microsoft builds into them anyway. This just seems like a really bad idea. You're opening your computer up and all the data on your computer to the world, and you're really not sure where it's going to be going. If Microsoft themselves class this as risky, what the hell are they doing it for?
Yeah, it does make you wonder, doesn't it? I guess because they want to stay relevant and be in the conversation, but this doesn't feel like something I'm going to be rushing to do.
Well, it's funny. The university is only just now rushing around, sort of finishing off its Windows 11 installs. There's still quite a lot. As with any big organization, it's really difficult to do that. So we get continually emails about it. Move to Windows 11, it's better. And from an enterprise point of view, which is where you're familiar with it as well, it probably is. I'm not convinced that it is, but it probably is. But okay.
I think from an enterprise point of view, you want people to move so you still get patched and supported. Yeah. And the feedback from service desks generally is, actually, we get less issues when people are running Windows 11. There's less phone calls to the service desk. That's the tangible thing we've seen.
They just accept everything's broken and they move on.
Maybe, but we generally have noticeably less calls, which I don't know. I can't explain.
Anyway, Microsoft are all in on the AI, probably because they're losing billions of dollars with it and they want everybody to get onto it so they can charge it back. I just think this is a colossally bad idea. The ability to run multiple agents. We've seen them push ahead with this before with things like recall, which users didn't want. Now they're pushing ahead with the ability to install all these agentic things on your computer with complete read-write access to your data. Fair enough, it's in a beta at the moment, but we saw this with recall where it was in a beta and then suddenly it was just live. So this really gives me concerns for the default settings that will come out, maybe not on an enterprise machine, but on a small business, on your home computer, on your granny's PC, whatever it is that they've just bought. All these things are enabled. They don't realize that it is, and then suddenly you've got a massive security hole.
Yeah, it does sound a bit worrying, like if they're releasing this into the wild with all these warnings. Just, you can have people just turn it on and not know what they're doing and giving, like you say, giving away their data. So I don't understand it. Stop it. I'm a little bit cautious. Well, probably more than a little bit cautious on this stuff.
I mean, it is interesting that one of the links we've put in the show notes is to Rock, Paper, Shotgun, who say, Microsoft detail agentic AI plan for Windows 11. Immediately admit it might install malware on your PC. That is not what your operating system vendor wants to be telling you.
Not when we just got out of all those years of having malware, like back in the 2000s, and people now are buying these things and going, oh, actually, I'm not getting malware anymore, and I can turn my computer on and have a really nice experience. And now we're going to go backwards.
Yeah, I don't know if we are going backwards. I mean, whatever they've plugged into the system before, they really want you to have this stuff, don't they? What it's interesting, this Rock, Paper, Shotgun article brings it out as well, is people may not want all this stuff. People may be pushed to install Linux or buy Steam machines or do something else. This is a gaming website. Of course, their interest is going to be that. But I did find it interesting that almost immediately after this agentic stuff came out was an article in The Verge, which is currently refusing to load in my browser, saying, screw it, I'm installing Linux. And I think there might be a bit of a critical mass going on for people who are tech aware enough to know they don't want this stuff, that Microsoft could be really pushing up against it here.
Yeah, I think that's fair. People want this, they don't. I I think people want your chat GPT where I can go and invoke it, do my thing and walk away. I'm not sure people are quite ready for this next level. But I guess that some people will want it, and maybe they do need to cater for those people, but I wonder whether there's a better way going around it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if it's here, the Linux desktop. I just think it's interesting that mainstream tech blogs like The Verge are now publishing stuff like this. I mean, again, this is more related to gaming, but you don't need to dig very deep with this to get the feeling that something's going on. The Mac is not going to scratch people's itches for gaming. It's just not. We've seen that repeatedly. It's not there. Linux might, it's on the hardware you've got. I just think it's fascinating that, when did I say I was annoyed with Microsoft and I was sort of going on more of a Linux push? Probably a year ago. It seems that there's a long tail to this and it's beginning to happen.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Linux does seem to be there in the background, quietly plugging away. We've seen it with Steam. It is growing, obviously, in popularity.
Yeah, I think, again, we're going to have to get one of your kids, you have to put something on their Bazite or something on their computer and see if they really notice. Maybe it's better. The story here is that Bazite actually ran some of the games at higher frame rates than Windows did, and that in itself is quite interesting.
That is interesting. My eldest does like Windows, though, I must confess. He's very keen on Windows.
What does he like about it?
I don't know. He just likes it.
But Chris, Max.
I know. I can't explain it. He said, I just really like Windows. I love it. And he does game on it. That's his main thing. So for him, he does what he wants.
You want to challenge him and put, SteamOS or Bazite on there and just see. I mean, I guess it's Fortnite and stuff, isn't it?
Have you tried challenging a teenager?
Hell yeah. I got two very old children at this point. I've challenged them a lot.
I know. I'm just picking my battles.
Yeah, I lost it. I mean, I'm not saying I won the challenge. That I to this day, I'm like, please don't have all these tabs open in your browser. Please install software updates. And they just both completely ignore me. Yeah,
I'm still lucky enough that I can I update most people's devices in my house just to make sure everybody's running the latest. But that day will change at some point.
When they move out of the house and they go to university and they've got their own lives, you have not got that control anymore.
No, agreed. We're not a million miles from that.
No. App of the week.
Do it.
Very simple. If you're a Fastmail user as I am, they've released an app. It's an Electron-based thing. It's really nice, even though it's an Electron-based thing, not to have to go up to a web browser, open a new tab, type in the blah-de-blah. It's just there. It runs. It works. That's what you want from an app. Email apps are a thing that we've had for a long time now, and I didn't realize how much I was missing a good, solid app for my web client until I had one again. So thank you, Fastmail. Thanks for producing that. It's available for you now on Linux, Windows, and Mac, and of course on your iPhone.
Fair enough. I don't know what else to say.
There's not a lot to be said, really. Most people have an email client of choice. Yours is probably Apple Mail or Outlook in some cases. It's just this is the service I've chosen. As I broke away from Gmail, or tried to break away from Gmail, I went to Fastmail. They're a really good provider, and I'm very happy that they've got this now.
And to be fair, Fastmail is a good name for an email service client.
And it actually is. There is no bloats in Fastmail at all. All they do is really good email. I'm very pleased with it.
Yeah, that's what you want.
No doubt in 5 minutes' time, there'll be a password manager and a Word document version, and because that's what happens with all these things, isn't it?
Yeah, everybody starts with one really well done app, core to the company's values, and then they start bloating.
Yeah, they certainly do. Thing of the week.
Thing of the week. So I've done something a bit different this week. Did you know Amazon do tours of some of their warehouses and distribution centres, or fulfillment centres? So I went and had a tour around a fulfillment centre not far from me, quite a big one, and it was actually really interesting. And it's free. So you just go onto Amazon's website, you put your name in, you pick a slot, and off you turn up. Yeah, and they will give you a walk around. You can't take any photos, but you can just have a walk around and see how Amazon works on the inside. Super interesting. I'm still not sure why they run it for free, because I was like, why do they do this? What's in it for them? I don't know if they're just trying to, help paint the company in a good light. There is a big distribution centre in Swansea near you. I went to one here in Swindon. They name all their distribution centres after the local international airport, so ours named after Bristol. And it's super interesting. Lots of IT, lots of tech. Yours isn't on the list. I'm not sure if yours isn't there because yours isn't like an automated one. I think yours is quite a manual distribution centre in Swansea from what they were telling me. But just really interesting how they pick and pack, what they do manually, what they have robots. They've got robots driving around with like a big tool cupboard on top of them with lots of slots in it. And when it comes up to the dock for somebody to put something away, a light shines where they need to put the thing, and they scan it, they put it in there, and then the robot takes it away and brings another robot brings the next one along. Really quite impressive tech in there. I just found it really interesting to go and see it, and I was recommended it by another IT person that does a similar role to me. He said, you should go check this out. It's just quite an eye-opener from an IT standpoint, or just a general, how does my stuff get to me? And most of what they sell actually isn't very big. Kind of like maybe a bit bigger than a shoebox is like how big these compartments are. So a lot of the things they sell are pretty small, and that's what's on the automation piece. But yeah, super interesting. Would recommend to go and have a look. And like I say, I still haven't worked out why they put these tours on. Like I say, is it just for getting good PR and canvassing Amazon? I don't know, but would recommend.
Fair enough. Sounds very interesting. I probably would have gone and done it. It might have been an interesting day out for me, but it's not an option for me here. So
yeah, I'm sorry you haven't got one near you. It's a shame.
Yeah, there you go. Such is life. No, I mean, I do see from an IT point of view, it's quite interesting to see what goes on, particularly in the more automated places as they increasingly put people out of work. But yeah, I guess that's a thing.
Did you know what? Actually, by me, they're actually one of the biggest employers in the town near me, according to them. So I haven't got any facts for this, but they employ a couple of thousand people on this one site. So I thought that was quite interesting. But yeah, it was just interesting, a bit of an eye opener.
Fair enough. I think we call that a show, Chris.
I think so. So if anyone wants to get in contact, Rod is at g5maniac@mastodon.scot. He's also on Blue Sky, where he's at g5maniac.bsky.social. I'm on Mastodon, where I'm at _CJP at mastodon.social. You can watch on YouTube by going to wakefromsleep.com and clicking on the link, or you can drop us an email at wakefromsleep@protonmail.com.
Talk to you next week, Chris.
Cheers, Rod.